Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel, I hope. Everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The Golden Bachelorette. Signs Chock Chapple has a bigger ego than Joan Vassos. Will this hurt their relationship? The Golden Bachelorette's Joan Vassos has been accused of having a big ego, but Chock Chapple's ego could be even bigger than hers. They say opposites attract, but 61-year-old Joan and 60-year-old Chock may be too much alike. Joan was already a big star when she met Chock. She made her television debut as a contestant on The Golden Bachelor Season 1. She was one of the 22 single golden women who competed for 72-year-old Jerry Turner. When Joan had to leave early due to a family emergency, she was selected to be the Golden Bachelorette. The Golden Bachelorette Season 1 opened with Joan in a gown, standing outside the iconic Bachelor Mansion, like every other franchise lead had done before her. When Chock stepped out of the limousine that night, he flashed a smile, and Joan was instantly attracted to his confidence. Once he later showed her his vulnerability, the other men never stood a chance. The season ends with Joan giving Chock her final rose and Chock slipping an engagement ring on her finger. A relationship between two famous people may prove challenging for Joan and Chock. Some people shrink from notoriety, but Joan and Chock take it like fish to water. Chock's arrogance was evident during an early episode of The Golden Bachelorette Season 1. Joan had taken several men, including Chock, on a group date to a bowling alley. Chock made it clear he didn't want to share Joan with the other men. Instead, he acted like she was already his girlfriend, snuggling up next to her the entire time. The other men hated it, but Chock didn't care. Not only did Chock's egregiously arrogant behavior not bother Joan, but she also seemed to like it. Since getting engaged on The Golden Bachelorette Season 1, Joan and Chock have been feeding into the fame by posting their every relationship milestone on social media. Currently, Joan has 176K Instagram followers, and Chock only has 73.5K Instagram followers. Though that seems like a big gap, keep in mind Joan has been famous a lot longer than Chock. His ego may push him to eclipse her on social media. Since getting engaged on The Golden Bachelorette Season 1, Joan and Chock have been doing the rounds, making media appearances, doing interviews, appearing on podcasts, and so on. By all accounts, they appear to be happy together. However, it's hard to tell how much of it is about the relationship and how much is driven by the excitement of the moment. Only time will tell if they'll continue to care for each other once the excitement wears off. Chock recently posted Instagram photos at a football game with several fellow cast members from The Golden Bachelorette Season 1. Among the familiar faces were 61-year-old Jordan Heller, 62-year-old Keith Gordon, and 60-year-old Gil Ramirez. Chock's ego may have made him feel as if he needed an identity outside his relationship with Joan, which may seem bad, but is probably good for them. Joan and Chock both have healthy egos, which is probably a big part of what attracts them to each other. Since leaving The Golden Bachelorette Season 1, Joan and Chock have focused on increasing their presence as public figures, which requires confidence. Joan has talked about competing in Dancing with the Stars, and Chock likely has his own ideas. It's hard to say if Chock has a bigger ego than Joan, but if they're not careful, their egos could get in the way of their relationship. As the sun sets on another dramatic evening of The Golden Bachelorette one question lingers in the minds of fans. Is Chock Chapple's ego bigger than Joan Vassos' allure? The latest developments on this groundbreaking show, where love, heartbreak, and second chances converge, have sparked a flurry of debates, but none quite as fiery as the dynamics between Chock and Joan. While Joan's confidence has often been perceived as a charming trait, it seems Chock's ego might be veering into dangerous territory, potentially jeopardizing their budding connection. ###sign 1. The Monologue King. Joan Vassos may have captured the hearts of many with her grace and wit, but Chock Chapple's penchant for self-indulgent monologues is starting to overshadow the relationship's progress. Take, for instance, the recent dinner date in a quaint vineyard. As Joan tried to share a heartfelt story about her late husband and the challenges of opening herself up to love again, Chock promptly turned the conversation into a soliloquy about his accomplishments. "I know what it's like to carry a burden of expectations," he said, launching into a 10-minute tirade about how his career as an architect redefined skylines. Joan, ever the poised listener, nodded along, but the subtle tightening of her smile hinted at her growing frustration. Viewers, on the other hand, were less subtle in their reactions, flooding social media with comments like, "Does Chock even know Joan's last name? And this man is auditioning for his own reality show, not love." ###sign2. The competitive streak. In one of the most entertaining group activities of the season, contestants were tasked with a friendly cooking competition judged by celebrity chef Curtis Stone. While Joan playfully teased Chock about his burnt to a crisp soufflé, his response revealed more than just a bruised culinary ego. "Burnt or bold, my dish was a statement," Chock quipped, refusing to accept any criticism. Later, in a confessional, he dismissed the entire competition as beneath his capabilities. "Cooking is fine, but it's not a measure of one's worth," he declared, prompting fans to wonder if his ego would allow room for Joan's successes, let alone shared laughter. ###sign3. The subtle put-downs. While Joan has a knack for uplifting others, Chock has occasionally been caught in the act of undercutting her with subtle jabs disguised as humor. During a heart-to-heart about their shared love of travel, Joan recounted her backpacking days through Europe. Instead of appreciating her adventurous spirit, Chock replied, "Well, I've always preferred 5-star hotels. Hostels were never really my thing." The comment, though delivered with a chuckle, felt like an unnecessary dismissal of Joan's experiences. Such remarks have become a pattern. From questioning Joan's taste in art to correcting her on trivial details, Chock's need to assert dominance, even in areas outside his expertise, has not gone unnoticed. While Joan's patience seems boundless, fans are beginning to wonder how much more she's willing to tolerate. ###sign4. The hometown date debacle. Perhaps the most glaring indication of Chock's inflated ego came during the much-anticipated hometown dates. While other contestants used the opportunity to showcase their families and roots, Chock's visit to his hometown turned into a self-congratulatory tour of his architectural achievements. "That building there? My first major project," he said, pointing out a skyscraper. "And over there, that's where they're putting up a statue in my honor." Joan's attempts to ask about his family, a key component of the date, were brushed aside in favor of a detailed explanation of his career milestones. By the end of the date, it wasn't clear if Joan had met anyone significant in Chock's life, apart from the metaphorical monuments to his ego. ###sign5. The Joan-sized shadow. Joan Vassos is no shrinking violet. Her life experiences, combined with her innate charm, have made her the star of this season. However, Chock's growing insecurities about sharing the spotlight are becoming increasingly evident. In a candid moment with the other contestants, he lamented, "It's hard to stand out when everyone's focused on Joan." While vulnerability is often endearing, Chock's statement felt more like an admission of resentment. Instead of celebrating Joan's magnetic personality, he seems to view it as competition. The irony, of course, is that Joan has never sought to diminish anyone, least of all Chock. Yet his inability to embrace her shine without feeling eclipsed raises questions about his emotional readiness for a partnership rooted in equality. ###. Will this hurt the relationship? For all of his flaws, Chapple is not without redeeming qualities. His confidence and ambition, when channeled positively, can be incredibly attractive. Joan herself has admitted to being drawn to his boldness.